Leicester City will become the first former Premier League champions to be relegated since Blackburn Rovers. Now, when Blackburn were relegated, they spent a couple of years in the Championship before coming back and having a sustained stint in the Premier League. However, the pain wasn't over there for Rovers fans as they were relegated once again, and this time tumbled all the way down as low as the 3rd division. And that's not at all proof or an insinuation that this will be Leicester's fate, but let's be honest, the omens do not look good for Leicester. So now I want to ask the question, what has gone wrong at Leicester City? But people, before we get into this clip, you are watching the Joey Knight podcast. Do me a massive favour. If you enjoy this video or any other of my content, please consider hitting that subscribe button below and hit the bell so that you get notified every time I go live. So at the start of the season, I predicted the full Premier League table and I actually had Leicester finishing in 8th. And if we look back at last season, that's exactly where they finished. A couple of seasons before, they had back-to-back 5th place finishes, which for a team of Leicester City's calibre is a massive, massive success. I think most people, when they look at Leicester City, they'll think straight away about the Premier League title win, which for me is the biggest fairy tale achievement, miracle, whatever you want to call it, in modern day sport that I have personally witnessed in my lifetime. However, you would be naive to think that all of Leicester's success came down to that one sole Premier League title win. By winning the league, they obviously qualified for the Champions League, and in that year's Champions League, they reached the quarter-finals, eventually going out on aggregate just by 1 goal to Atletico Madrid. They also won an FA Cup and a Community Shield, as well as previously mentioned back-to-back 5th place finishes. There was a point when, unless you were from the Midlands and you didn't like Leicester, Leicester City was everyone's second favourite club. So to see them fall this low and be nailed on for relegation at this point absolutely blows my mind. And I want to discuss with you lot how this has happened. Now look, it's no secret that since that miraculous Premier League title win, a lot of the stars of that Leicester squad were picked up by bigger teams in England, such as the likes of Kante, Mahrez, Ben Chilwell, even more recently Fofana. Even Danny Drinkwater got a move to Chelsea, so that squad was picked apart. However, even after the departure of those players, Leicester still seemed to keep on ticking over and getting things right. Now, we know that Leicester City's previous owner tragically died in a helicopter crash, and obviously he was the owner of King Power. King Power were hit horrifically, as a lot of companies were, by the pandemic, and this meant that when football resumed, Leicester City in the following transfer windows weren't able to spend the sort of money that they had been able to before. But Leicester's success didn't come down to spending money. Their recruitment was very good and they got the right names in at the right times in their career, so they didn't have to pay too much money for them. Leicester brought N'Golo Kante for a snip price of 5.6 million. They spent just £1 single million on Jamie Vardy, who was the talisman in that league title victory, and Riyad Mahrez cost them £500,000. So the recruitment was clearly very, very good at Leicester City. And if you were to go and look up Leicester City's top 10 most expensive transfers, all 10 of those transfers come after the Premier League title win. Now, I won't say that they were all misses. There were some hits in there. I think Yuri Tielemans has done very well. But Iosi Perez for 34 million, both Slimani and Patson Daka for 30 million can only be described as a failure. And one of the other things that I think Leicester City have got wrong this season is waiting way too long to sack Brendan Rodgers. Let's say, for example, that Nottingham Forest and West Ham both stay up. Well, that would obviously give weight to the argument that you're better off not sacking your manager, because West Ham stuck with David Moyes and Nottingham Forest have stuck with their manager, and both of those teams would have avoided relegation. Whereas you look at the teams that have sacked their manager, Southampton a couple of times, Leeds, and obviously more recently Leicester City, everyone down there have made managerial changes and it has not worked out for them. But if they were going to change their manager, I just have a feeling that Leicester City did it without having a plan of who was going to come in next. There was obviously a delay before appointing Dean Smith and John Terry, and I think that maybe given a bit more time they could have made things work, but they were working on limited resources and the rot had already got a little bit too bad by the time they came in. And when you talk about teams going down, there's a real argument to say that this Leicester City squad could possibly be the best ever team to go down. You look at the West Ham squad that went down and obviously included the likes of Joe Cole, Glenn Johnson, David James, so many more that I can't think off the top of my head, and that was obviously a massively highly talented squad. But this Leicester City squad to go down is ridiculous ridiculous. Now, the other thing that doesn't help a team when they get relegated is instability within the squad. And if you look at the amount of comings and goings that will be going on at Leicester City, it's not going to bode well for them at all. Maddison, Iheanacho, Tielemans, Harvey Barnes are just a few players that I can name off the top of my head that you would imagine are very, very unlikely to be at this point in their career playing Championship football next season. In my opinion, it did not even cross Leicester City's mind that there was a chance at the end of this season that they could be relegated. And you can see that from the way that their contracts are with their players, the players they've got in, and there is just no planning for life in the Championship moving forward. And you look at other teams that go down, or yo-yo clubs, for example, and you know sometimes by Christmas time, they're already sort of planning for life in the Championship. I feel that way a little bit about Southampton, like it was inevitable. And there's other teams that you know will have already been planning for life in the Championship. Leicester City are not one of those teams. And it begs the question, can Leicester City bounce back immediately from Championship football? The Championship is notoriously one of the hardest leagues in the whole world, let alone England, to get out of. We've seen so many big clubs fall and not come back. I look at teams that have won domestic cups such as Wigan, Portsmouth, Birmingham, that have gone down to the Championship and haven't come back since. And it could be that way for Leicester City. But it's not all doom and gloom. Here are the reasons why I think Leicester City may well end up coming back from the Championship. Firstly, because they have got a Championship-proven manager. And obviously, in Dean Smith, they do have a manager who does have experience in being promoted from the Championship before, albeit not actually by the automatic promotion spots. They came up through the playoffs with Aston Villa, but nevertheless, Championship experience, and they know what it takes to get up. As well as that, Leicester City's absolute talisman, and probably, I'd go as far to say, as the most iconic player for that club, is Jamie Vardy. Now, Jamie Vardy, in a day and age where we don't really feel like we can relate to footballers that much because we don't know that much about them and we don't see so much of their personal life, he's probably the last of a dying breed of footballers that the average man on the street like me and you can look at and go, we sort of feel like we could relate to him. He's a sort of bloke that everyone might know. And Jamie Vardy, in my opinion, nearing the end of his career, retired from international duty, probably knows that he's never going to play for a team that have won the league again. He had the opportunity to move to Arsenal away from Leicester City a couple of seasons ago now, and he turned down that opportunity. So in my head, there is no way that Jamie Vardy leaves Leicester City when they get relegated. I think that Jamie Vardy, from a personal aspect, will see his last hurrah and his last massive contribution to the club and to being a club legend as getting Leicester City out that Championship. And I'll tell you one thing, aging or not, Jamie Vardy's still got pace. Jamie Vardy has an elite mentality, and Jamie Vardy could end up the Championship top scorer next season if he can stay fit. Also, the other thing is this, you look at like when teams have gone down before, and even if they kept hold of their star players, you played in the Premier League. But there's the old thing of, can you do it on a cold Tuesday night in Stoke? Well, Jamie Vardy, he's a player that has come up from lower league football. He was playing for Fleetwood Town. And that's not to say he came through the academy and he was there when he was 17, almost a lifetime ago. Jamie Vardy was playing in lower league football up until the age of about 24, 25, which is obviously one of the reasons why he was one of the biggest success stories to come out of that Leicester City title-winning campaign. And I think Jamie Vardy will be an absolute pivotal part of Leicester City's bid to get promoted from the Championship next season. If you had to ask me now, I really don't know what happens with Leicester City. I'd be very, very interested to hear what you lot think on Leicester City next season. Could the club even go again? You know, we've seen teams drop out of the Premier League before and have back-to-back relegations. I hope not. There is a soft spot in my heart for Leicester City. Even after they threw the Chelsea badge following that FA Cup win, Leicester City is a team that I would like to see in the Premier League. And yeah, I don't really know with this one, but I want to know what you lot think. I will be live in the comments as soon as this video goes out. I will be replying to every comment that comes in. So please tell me what you lot think is the fate of Leicester City. What lies in wait? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you all in the next video.